This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. I've covered many times Saturday Night Live in the past, and I feel led every time I see that there's a Saturday Night Live show that airs. I get recommended the clips from the show, and sometimes I just click on a clip to see what the narrative is of what they're talking about, because obviously nobody's clicking on these clips looking to be entertained, because there is no comedy to be found on Saturday Night Live. In fact, every time I see Saturday Night Live, I often think of God's promise with the rainbow to never flood the earth again. And when I see Saturday Night Live, I wish sometimes that God would go back on his word, because there couldn't be a more appropriate time for God to actually flood the earth again when you see these abominations that walk amongst us, especially those on Saturday Night Live who continue to brainwash their audience. Now, they are constantly, this show that's supposed to be about comedy is about brainwashing. They're supposed to be trying to make people laugh, and what they've done is they've taken conspiracies and they've just filtered it throughout the entire show, week in and week out. Why? Because they're using it as a means to make people laugh at things that are actually true, because there's a laugh box, because it's Saturday Night Live, so you're supposed to laugh. So they talk about these serious topics which are real, which if these people realize when they make jokes about chemtrails what they were talking about, these are the same people that have loved ones who die of cancer, never know why, just think it's normal, never think anything about what's going on up in the sky because it's too much for them to comprehend. So they make a mockery, as I'll show you in this episode of Saturday Night Live, of all conspiracies, of course. And at the same time, what they do is they train everybody's minds out there to look at the new enemy of the state, the new enemy of humanity, to be those of us who question the government, those of us who question all of these things that they're doing to us, which they show you throughout the video. They use these subliminal means to constantly program these people into making us into terrorists. And I'll show you exactly with all these clips. You're going to look at it, you're going to go, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. Loves guns, talks about chemtrails, the shape of the earth, all sorts of stuff. I'll play the clip for you in a minute, but let's look at the host here, Adam Driver, who was nominated for one of the sexiest men alive, or something like that came up when I Googled Adam Driver to see about Adam Driver. Adam Driver, to me, is probably you could see the ghouling demon inside of Adam Driver. If this is the sexiest man alive, well, then I'm transforming into the Easter Bunny, I guess, because I don't really know what's going on in today's world. Now, most people will say that this isn't really a man anyway, that it's transition. Well, if that's the case, that is one ugly woman, I'll tell you that much. Oof. So this is somebody that's been pushed down our throats. Of course, they've propped him into these Star Wars films, and that's another reason that a lot of the woke, dumbed-down zombies love this guy. That's all they need to do is put them in one of their favorite movies, and then, of course, they go on to condition their behavior, condition their thoughts, obviously push all these woke ideologies, etc., and everybody thinks it's one big joke, when in fact it's not. The joke is really on them. So here's Adam Driver in the past before I show you the clips from Saturday Night. This is him just joking around on GQ, etc. He's got a 666 over his tongue, but that's just him being goofy, right? Him and every other celebrity, when you've seen the montages of all the celebrities doing the same exact thing, whether it's over their eye or over their tongue, they're playing peekaboo. Of course, he's doing the serpent's tongue, which is why these celebrities love to stick their tongues out like Gene Simmons, etc. Okay, it's not because they're going la la la. It's a serpent's tongue. That's what it represents. The tongue of a snake, a serpent. Okay, so he's doing that. No big deal. He's just itching his eye. In another photo here, this isn't an all-seeing eye picture, folks. Somebody was just taking a picture and he was like, "Oh, I'm so hungover. I got an eye booger in there. Let me just get that eye booger out. Oh, we took the picture. Oh, we can't take more pictures because you can't take extra digital photos these days. It's too much money. So we're just going to take this one and put it on the magazine. Put it in there. Put it on the cover." And he's like, "All right. I don't really care how I look. Of course, this is delivered. People just see it. They're like, oh, silly, goofy." And then, of course, he was in another one where he just goes, "Hey, anybody got Scotch tape?" They're like, "Yeah, we got Scotch tape in the back, for boxes and stuff for costume. Yeah, could you get me a piece of Scotch tape? I'm going to put it right over my eye." And everyone was like, "That is so funny, Adam Driver. Yes, let's put the Scotch tape over your eye." Everybody out there in the world is going to just be on the ground laughing at, "Oh, Adam Driver is just so silly and goofy and funny." Nope, nobody's brain thinks when they do these things. That's why every single celebrity gets away with the fact that they're committing treason by being in these secret societies and influencing the behavior of all of the people around us who are completely just warp-minded, who are agreeing and accepting all this insane behavior that they're pushing. No, Adam just wanted to put tape over his eye because, that's cool and neat to do. Oh, yeah. And then they just don't even question this. They're just like, yeah, here's Adam Driver. If you did this, if your mom and dad were like, we're taking photos we're going to put up in the house, we want to put some pictures of you up now that you're 18 or 20, whatever the reason would be, so we would take a picture and put up. And then you put tape over your eye, your parents would be like, knock it off. What are you doing? That's not even funny. That's what they would say, right? But let alone for the magazine cover of supposedly the sex. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Nobody's brains work. They see these are signs and symbols, right? The all-seeing eye. Okay, you see the eye on the back of the dollar bill. Okay, the Bible reference. It's just, how many times, right? So not only that, I'm going to get into the Saturday Night Live clip because in the past, I've covered Adam Driver, of course, long removed videos, even though I'm a new YouTuber, where Adam Driver was playing the role in hell. He was down in hell. He was playing the role of this guy who's notorious for having this island where a lot of these famous people went to. I can't say his name because the algorithm, but you could connect the dots, right? Yeah, it was this island, something with an app, I don't know. And all these people just flew out there. So he was playing him, making a mockery of all this stuff. Of course, nobody talks about the children and what occurs to children on a day in and day out basis. They make a joke of it. So speaking of which, here's this skit from Saturday Night Live. So the premise of the skit, I'm going to show you clips from the skit, is Christmas premise. This guy's going to reach out. He was thinking about his old friend. They used to play out in the snow. He was thinking about him. He's like, his wife's like, why don't you reach out to him? Text him, right? Then he texts him, and then he finds out as he's texting him that he's got a Netflix documentary that involves doing, having all these children, just weird, gross, creepy stuff. And of course, while they're making him out to be a creepy, ped, because that's what they're trying to make him out to be, is a ped. He's not allowed to go near schools. He texts back, stuff like that. Then so they play at that scene. They're like, oh, he's got a creepy friend who's into kids and all this other weird stuff. Okay. And then, of course, they stereotype him with all the things that are actually true in the world to make it seem like, well, those types of people who think that stuff are real predators, right? So you'll see all the stuff in there. I'll break it down after the fact, but keep a close eye on his board, his blackboard, his whiteboard, whatever it is, his board in the room where he puts up all his thoughts and the things he's into. He pins it up on a board, and you can see a lot of this stuff, and I'll break it down after. Look at this propaganda and how they control the minds of the masses.
My mom has not changed this room since I left for college.
Who's this?
Oh, that's Keith. He was my best friend growing up. He lived a few doors down. I haven't seen Keith in like 15 years.
Well, you should reach out.
Hey, Keith. It's Jake. It's been forever, man.
Jake Mitchell? Wow, I'd love that. Where do you want to go?
Finnegan's?
That's not a gay bar, right? Is it more than 1,000 feet from a school?
Keith.
For real, though, is it more than 1,000 feet from a school?
Probably.
I'm in. I lost the love of my life last year.
I'm so sorry.
Here's my fave pic of us. It's crazy that they can just take a gun away from you because of what you say online. I have so much to tell you about.
How did I not know Keith's a full psycho?
Because you never go on
Facebook. Still the best way to see which old friends are crazy now.
So it's right in front of us to see, right? You see the whole premise of it. He's a creep. He does disgusting stuff. And then, of course, what do? Well, they cut to the fact he says, oh, I lost my loved one this year. And his loved one is what? His loved one is an assault rifle, right? Because, again, they're disarming civilians is the goal here. Not just to not be able to sell these things anymore, to be able to do red flag laws where people that are like Adam Driver in this clip, and, of course, they're tying Adam Driver into the stuff with children, trying to tie us in as being these types of creeps, which is something that they've done with mind control throughout the years with the church, etc. So, his love of his life is his gun. Meanwhile, they never mention that we're giving guns, supposedly, that's the narrative they tell us, to Ukraine civilians to arm them against this big bad boogeyman. But here in America, we want to take them away from civilians when we could see our government's gone completely rogue. And they make it seem like, oh, all these crazy conspiracy people have guns are going to go to schools and going to go to schools, universities, going to go to the mall, create all these things that they tell us actually happen in the news when they don't, when it's the CIA and black ops that are behind all these fake events. And the whole purpose of the fake events is so that they can come and get your guns, right? It's pretty easy to see. People don't even wonder what the CIA and the FBI do. They create those events. That's what they do. and they put and then they come out and tell you, every time it's the same gun. They're conspiracy theorists. You see how this all works? Well, that's what they're doing even in a clip like this. Doing it over and over again. They're programming people's minds into what they want you to perceive the new terror threat in this country to be, which would be people like us, because we question the narrative. So he's hugging his gun and he's like, it's not fair they're taking my gun away just because I do this stuff with kids, right? Which again is talking about the red flag law. So then we go into the board behind him, right? We've got chemtrails. It says right on the wall, chemtrails, right? Because they want to make a mockery of chemtrails. So anybody out there who's wondering why they're depressed, fatigued, sick, why things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer is just becoming such a constant threat. We have such advancements in technology, but nobody heard of cancer 100 years ago. That's because it didn't exist. So why is everybody getting it? Oh, well, nobody's looking up because they're told that it's water vapor, right? Then we could also tie chemtrails into geoengineering, where they can manipulate weather with that. They can make the earth warmer, all sorts of things they want you to believe are actually happening naturally, but are at the hands of them. And of course, if you question those things, well, they'll just shut you down and silence you because you can't actually use your brain here. So they're making chemtrails while they're telling you that there's a climate thing going on. Of course, they need to go out of their way to tell you that chemtrails and all that stuff is fake, even though I've covered chemtrails so many times over the years. And I'll cover them again and again for those of you that are new to it. But we've even seen people like Lana Del Rey on their albums mock it, right? I just covered again Jared Leto on his album cover, mocking it right in front of our faces, right? They tell us it's not real, and then they're like, these people think it's really that. Oh, okay. And people who are actually independent scientists who probably lost their credentials because they actually tried to test some of the stuff that was falling from the sky, and they found that it was aluminum, barium, and all sorts of things in there that could cause real harm to humans. And they just go, what? This guy's crazy. It's a kooky conspiracy nut. And everybody just goes along with it because their favorite celebrities laugh it off and joke it off because they're programming you and they're making you dumber by the day and they're making you believe their narrative so they can have total control of your life. And if you're out there and you're like, so what? Adam Driver's going to have control. Yeah, okay. You're going to have a worse life than any prisoner's ever had. And your mind is going to just completely explode when you figure out what's going on. And you'll probably never believe it because you never want to admit that you're wrong. And it's not about being wrong or right. It's about stopping this from happening. But anyway, they're mocking chemtrails right in the video. Then, of course, right next to it, we see fluoride in the water, right? One of the oldest ones in the book. Fluoride in the water, which doesn't even need to be debunked. They constantly go, oh, fluoride. Come on, the dentist puts fluoride in your mouth. Yeah, they want to get that in your mouth immediately at a young age, right? And why do you think they cram so much sugar in the food to get soft metals in your mouth, right? But fluoride in the water, this goes back to Stalin. This goes back to dictators, kind of like what's in power now, whether it's Trump or Biden. I mean, we're under a total global dictatorship. That's what this is. Fluoride in the water has been proven to have been done throughout civilizations. What did fluoride in the water do? It dumbs down the people. It lessens their willpower. Lots of things happen with fluoride in the water. A lot of bad health effects and effects on the mind. But of course, it's a conspiracy that we think it's going on now, when you could actually look up other world leaders that have done this in the past, so they wouldn't do that to us. Though they seem like they love us, right? They want to come to your home and take your kids away if you don't let them castrate themselves. But they really care and love us, right? They've taken away our free speech. They've taken people's jobs away if they don't put poison inside their bodies when they tell them to. But, they care about us. So why would they put fluoride in the water, right? I mean, give me a break. Then we go on to, of course, they have to put the pyramid with the all-seeing eye. And I mean, we've already seen Adam Driver, showing his affiliation to the occult with the all-seeing eye. Nobody questions it. It's basic. It couldn't be more basic on the back of the dollar bill. And people are just like, oh, somebody just had a pen and they drew a pyramid and they want to put an eyeball at the top. That's as far as their thought process goes. Don't have a clue what it is. Don't even ask what it is. It's too much for them to think, for 5 seconds about what it could possibly be about secret societies, Freemasons, the occult, who are controlling everything, who are making your life miserable on a day in and day out basis. You wouldn't be miserable if these people weren't doing what they're doing. They're psychologically abusing you. They're abusing you in your wallet. They're abusing you every which way. They're causing division amongst you and your friends. Yep, that's all the people right there at the eyeball on the back of the dollar bill. So, of course, that's on the what's supposed to be deemed a crazy, crazy bulletin board here. You got woke media, You got fake news gets more likes. So they're trying to say, oh, well, if I make fake news, giving people a reason, like if I make fake news, it's going to get more likes. So they're programming people to think that people like me cover these topics so that people will watch us and will become popular, et cetera, et cetera. When the simple fact is most of the people who subscribe to people like me in this channel subscribe because they realize that something's wrong. Because something's pulling, remember the old intro? Yeah, they feel like something's terribly wrong in the world. They can't figure out what it is. And then they come to the right place, like this channel. Then they start taking this stuff in and breaking it down little by little. Because remember, you got to peel this back like an onion. You can't just go full in. You got to observe this. You got to, let it sink in. And then it's just easier and easier as you wake up to all their lies. But they program people so fake news gets more likes. So the first thing most people say is, oh, you cover that stuff? Oh, you got all these people listening? Not because there's actually truth to it. They're like, oh, you have people listening because it gets clicks because it's crazy stuff and they want to laugh instead of going, oh, there's a lot of like-minded people who realize exactly what's going on. And then, of course, no one's suspicious when they shut down channels left and right of all the people out there who talk about this stuff, right? So fake news gets more likes. Woke media, of course, which is really communist media. Then we get this. You can see a pentagram, right on the board there. A pentagram, and then it says planned cover-up, right? And then, of course, that's going to lead to the right of it, too. You get round earth or fish-eyed lens, right? So you have flat earth references as well that they want on there that they want you to immediately debunk and think that this stuff's all nuts. And then you get to Hillary Clinton, of course, and this will have everything to do with that pizza food that they like to discredit. So this is Adam Driver's bulletin board. So they quickly say that he's an insane. He's like, oh yeah, I'm crazy. I've done some of this stuff with kids. I can't go near a school. And then of course they connect that to all of these crazy conspiracies. So they're saying, oh, he's a weird freak. You don't want to be around him. His thought process. This is just basic CIA operative programming here because the CIA does create all the Hollywood programming. They run Hollywood, and all the celebrities in there are not famous because of any other reason than them being blood members related to one another who are operatives. And it's too much for them to grasp because what the television has told them what the CIA really is, right? They would be like, celebrities at CIA? Right? Well, they're certainly not talented, so you could start questioning how these people are even famous because they're not funny, they're not entertaining, they're not even good looking. They all look like demons are coming out of them. And then, of course, while this clip is going on, they show the two characters who were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this guy. How was I friends with him in the past, right? Programming that way. You see who it's brought to you by in the background. You see the black and white Masonic checkerboard right on the wall there, right? So, that's who brought it. The Freemasons, black and white checkerboard floor at every Masonic lodge. The occult and black and white symbolism, the duality, as above, so below. That's Baphomet right there for you. That's why you always see it. That's why celebrities always have it in their home. So this is just another way that they're programming people, right? They're programming them to think that to stereotype gun owners and conspiracy theorists as weird perverts, people you don't want to be around, and a terrorist to society. That's what they're doing. There's no comedy here. Nobody's watching it and actually laughing. And they know that. But they know the more they beat this into your head with a laugh box, the more that subliminally it's going to get you to dismiss any of these theories like chemtrails. Because especially right now, as they push the carbon footprint, they don't want you questioning chemtrails. Okay? Because then if people out there are bringing up chemtrails, and they're starting to talk about the climate, this is a scary time for them. Right? They used to just dismiss it and say contrails, we don't even know what they're talking. Well, now that they're coming forward and telling us we have to have carbon footprints and the earth is warming up, well, now we can start talking about geoengineering right above us, right? And talking about blocking out the sun, which they do on a daily basis. It shouldn't be enough for people to just see that the sky starts off blue and then you have haze the rest of the day. If it was water vapor, it would have been gone in seconds. You wouldn't even notice it, right? But nobody has blue skies anymore. They give you maybe one a month, maybe once every 2 weeks if you're lucky. They'll give you a blue sky day, by design, of course, so you don't get suspicious. They're biting their tongue any days they take off from poisoning us. But they're doing it in other ways, like they mentioned in here anyway. Even if they take a day off from chemtrail, and they still got your fluoride in your water. Of course, that's why most of us have filters to get the fluoride out. But they want you to think it's crazy to actually do that. So, you got that. You got the fake news gets more clicks, woke media. You've got referencing flat earth. Hillary Clinton, which is really just everything connects back to Hillary. They're referencing the pizza, the pentagram on the wall, the Freemasonic crap on the wall. And of course, Adam Driver over there is just constantly showing us the all-seeing eye and putting tape over his eye. And nobody's suspicious. Why aren't they suspicious? Because they make a joke of everything. Everybody's dumbed down and constantly needs to be entertained. They're weakening men. They're making women dumber. And nobody's rising up against this. And this is all done by design. This is how psyops work. So while we look back at history, I think we could all look back, obviously a lot of history is fake, but look back at the way people lived 100 years ago. None of us could survive the way that they survived, probably, right? Just living out in the woods, having to go day to day, trying to find your meal by hunting, etc., right? It sounds difficult compared to what we live in now. However, if you told those people and showed them what we're living in with the psychological stuff that they're doing to us, they'd be like, I would never, ever go near that satanic world you're living in, ever, right? That's what's scary about it. Because we look back and we're like, we probably couldn't survive. Some of you might say you could, but I guarantee you like a weekend, it would be nuke your mind because of the way we live now. But people then would look and they go, oh my goodness, I would never, ever, ever want to live then. Well, man, they're really messing with your brain because they're messing with us on levels that have never been done before because of the technology, because of the influence. It's scary. It's scary. When they talk about mental health, they're the ones who are causing people to have mental health problems. And they're doing it by telling people that there's something that they're not, convincing you that you're born a certain way. It's all this stuff is just messing with the minds of the youth and the minds of the adults because adults aren't behaving as adults anymore. They're behaving as kids, so it's working on them too. So, frightening world, but Adam Driver, one of the sexiest men alive. If this is your idea of sexy, then I guess you're also attracted to the California raisins. I don't know. But anyway, folks, I thank you for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.